What's going on, guys? This is a new type of video. I didn't script it. I didn't plan this. I just turned on the camera, sat down. Here we are. And the reason I'm doing it is because I saw a video recently of a guy sitting by a campfire just talking to the camera and just saying whatever he was talking about. His seemed a bit more planned out than what this is going to be. But I figured, you know what? Let's just turn on the camera and see what falls out of my mouth. And what I want to talk about is something I heard recently, the idea about wasting time. I was talking to somebody. This conversation I'm about to mention was years ago, but something recently happened that brought this memory back up for me. She had dated this guy for 5 years. And towards the end of the relationship, he started to become, not the best kind of boyfriend that somebody would want, not the best kind of guy, not the kind of guy that any real man would want to be either. The relationship fell apart. She ended up breaking it off and moved on after, however much time she needed to move on. And she got to a point where she started to feel like she wasted time dating this person. Where she said to me, and I'll always remember this when I think back on it, I wasted 5 years of my life with this person. Wasted 5 years of my life with this person. And I think that that's such an easy conclusion to come to when you're in a position like that, especially when you're hurting, especially when you're heartbroken, especially when all these things are happening around you. 5 years into a relationship, typically you would have an idea of if you're going to marry this person or not. If it's like a more stable relationship for most of it. So you start to have these ideas in your head of like, oh, I'm building a life with this person. Eventually we're going to get married. We're going to settle down somewhere. We're going to have a life together. We're going to travel the world maybe. We're going to do all these crazy things. He has dreams. I have dreams. We're going to make both of our dreams come true. And then it ends and you're like, I wasted 5 years with this person for nothing. That's another thing that I've heard a lot of. Sorry, I have my puppy's hair all over me. He sheds a lot. He's half husky, half American Eskimo. So just little white hairs is all over my black hoodie. But back to the topic. The idea of wasting time. You did not waste any time. She did not waste any time with this person. And if you're somebody who's watching this that's been in a similar situation, you did not waste any time with this person. It's easy to feel that way. It's the easiest conclusion to come to in a situation like that of, what if I never met this person? If I knew this was how it would have played out, I never would have done it. Yeah, obviously. Nobody would... I shouldn't say nobody. Most of the time, if you presented them a human being on a platter and said, you could date this person for a couple of years, it's going to be great. But then the last year or two is going to be terrible. You're going to break it off and you're going to regret that you ever met this person. You're going to hate their guts for the rest of your life. Most people might be like, no, I'll pass. I'll wait for the next platter. There's probably a couple people out there that are more toxic that'll be like, yeah, I'll do it. Sounds fun. Why not? But this idea that you wasted time with them. You had 5 years. This person had 5 years of growing and learning within an actual relationship what they like and what they don't like. One of the benefits of that is short-term dating does not get you to the point where you can learn these things about yourself and about a romantic partner. Short-term dating, you get those... A lot of times you might get those stronger feelings because you have the lust that a lot of people confuse for love, but you have those lustful emotions. It's early, it's new, you might be a bit obsessed with the person, like I just want to spend all my time with her, I want to spend all my time with him, I have to go to work today, but we just had this weekend together where we just laid in bed and watched Netflix and we watched the new Dahmer documentary and oh, it was so fun and relaxing and peaceful, and I think I could fall in love with this person, and you just want to screw work. I want to call out sick. I want to go to the beach with this person. This is what I want. And over time, that fades. When that fades, you get hit with that decision to choose to love the person, to choose actively to see there's something here that I want to keep, even though these initial waves of powerful emotions washed away. And if you never give yourself that risk, if you never take that risk, you'll never learn, oh, I've been living with somebody. And not saying moved in together. Let's say, I had a relationship once. I lived in a house with a couple roommates while I was in the military. And this girl would spend the weekends there. She'd sleep over the whole weekend. Usually we would go out. A bunch of us would go out to this bar on Thursday night. That was usually like ladies' night. That's where all the fun happens. And military got in for free that night. And then she'd come back that night. She usually didn't have classes Friday. Or if she did, I was at work anyways. So she would spend Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then go back home for the main part of her week. And if we never got to a point where that happened, even though it's like a short-term living situation, week after week of that, we're not living together, like it's not our own place, but she's spending so much time coming home from work to me. I'm coming home from work to her. And we're sharing those moments of falling asleep together, waking up together. If you never let yourself take the risk of being close to somebody like that, you'll never learn what you like and what you don't like in a more serious situation. You'll forever be stuck in the casual, I can't let this person get close, I'm afraid of it, or whatever your reason may be. Maybe you're not afraid of it, maybe it's just whatever. People have so many different reasons. If I start getting into all that, we're going to talk for way too long about just going off on tangents. My point is, the short-term casual stuff, you never give yourself a chance to learn. To learn not only what you like and don't like about that person, what you like and don't like about yourself. You might be in a position where week after week after week of waking up next to this person, going to sleep next to them after nights of partying or just going out and having fun or whatever you guys are doing that works for you, you might start to actually be like, I don't like it. Or you're not ready for it. Or it starts to feel like it becomes too much too soon. And then hopefully you're in a healthy relationship where you could tell that person that you're not there yet. But imagine if you never gave yourself that risk and you never realized that you didn't want to move in with somebody, or you weren't ready to move in with somebody because you took those slower steps to get there. You could say afterwards, I wasted all this time because the relationship didn't work out. And then your next relationship, obviously it would be better. You learned all those lessons. But let's say you didn't do the first part. You met somebody, you were so head over heels for them, whatever, you dove headfirst into it, and then you moved in with them. You signed the lease. This is going to be great. Maybe you guys move to a different city together. You both have hopes and dreams. And you pick a city that fits both of you. If you've never wasted time in relationships before, you wouldn't know if you're not the type of person, or if you're the type of person who can or can't move in with somebody like that. Because now you're, a month in, and you're like, I don't like this. And the same can go for jobs. Because just like you have a relationship with a romantic partner, you have a relationship with your career path, your job, your hobby you make money off of, whatever the case may be. Let's say you're 18 years old. You're graduating high school. All your friends are going to university. Maybe you have some friends that are doing 2 years of community college, 2 years of university, right? They're going to do the community college, transfer to uni, get the better looking diploma, whatever career they're trying to do. And you are just not doing that. A lot of people, this goes into like the whole idea of purpose in America and comparing it to Eastern cultures where they have ideas of purposelessness and how that's more freeing than this inherent idea of like, I need to have a purpose. What's my purpose? I'm wasting time. That's a different conversation. Let's say, so you're 18, graduate high school, say you go become a plumber, right? That's a good job. Honest money, good money, really. I mean, you can unionize, stable work. Every place in the country needs plumbers, so you can honestly basically move anywhere you want to as well. If you want to get out of your hometown, start a life somewhere else. Now let's say you become a plumber. 2 years into it, you're 20 years old. You go, man, I like this. I'm a young kid, I'm making steady money, making some good money in some cases. That's enticing. You have all these friends that are out having fun at college, and you might start to feel like, you're really doing something. Say you turn 25. Say you turn 25 and you wake up one day and you go, oh my God, I am sick of being a plumber. I hate being a plumber. I hate this. Or not even hate it. You wake up and you're just like, I don't like this anymore. This is not fulfilling me. This is not bringing me the same comfort, satisfaction, or fulfillment that it did when I was 20. You could easily sit there and start to think, I wasted all this time. I wasted 5 years of my life. If I realized this when I was 20, if I thought about what am I really doing? I'm spending Monday through Friday working all day, every day. Maybe you haven't been going out as much. Maybe when friends came home from school for winter breaks and stuff, you had to work, so you missed out on these trips or times to go skiing in the mountains with friends. And maybe they took a trip to Punta Cana for summer one year, but you had to work. You didn't have the vacation hours. Like whatever you make up story in your head, like whatever you can think of. It's easy in that case as well to think you wasted your time. But you didn't really waste your time. You took a step that at a point in your life you felt was the right direction. You took a risk, sure, yeah, but you took a step to do something that you felt was what you would have wanted for a longer period of time. You never would have grown to a position where you realize being a plumber is not fulfilling you if you never just took that leap. And then you get to that point where you're like, I don't like being a plumber. This isn't fulfilling me. I'm wasted all this time. That alone is a gift. That moment where you think, I wasted all this time, even though that doesn't seem like it would be, that is a gift. That moment that you had, I wasted all this time being a plumber, that is a gift. Because if you didn't do that, if you never spent those years as a plumber, you would have not learned, maybe in this case, this person, this fictional character I created for the situation, maybe what their true passion is something more artistic. Let's say when they were younger, they really loved books. And they just kind of fell off through the teen years and, all this ideas of like being a kid and just partying all the time or whatever you're doing with your friends and just trying to live it up when you're young, and you kind of just lost sight of that. And then you graduated high school, you're like, I need something stable. Being a plumber is pretty cool. Like we said, story plays out. And then you realize this does not fulfill me long term. And then you come back to the love of books. And then you become an author? Maybe. In this situation, we'll say this person quit their job as a plumber. Took their money, quit their job as a plumber, found something else. Maybe they picked up some work at a bookstore. I don't know. It's something. Keep some money coming in while you plan on becoming an author. And you start writing your first book. and you're sitting down every day after work or every lunch break and you're filled with this renewed passion. You're doing something else, it's brand new, and you get filled with that excitement all over again, just like a new relationship. You get filled with that excitement of like, oh, like this is like I'm writing a book now. Like I was wasting all this time as a plumber. Now I'm sitting here, I'm writing a book, and this is a story that I think could actually work, and I'm piecing all these things together. I'm just like describing this narrative, and then this is fun. This is fulfilling me. This is fulfilling me. If you never worked as a plumber, there's a chance you never would have had this realization for this person that they ended up wanting to be an author. Now, yeah, you could make the argument, you could do any job, and eventually you probably would have gotten burnt out of it and found your passion. Yeah, that's the point of the story here. I picked plumber, making it up off the top of my head. But even if the person did anything else, no matter what they chose to do, in this situation, I chose plumber. Sue me. If this person went off to be, if they went to university and they became an architect, and they have this degree in architecture, and they're working as an architect, and let's say they even get work in like a big architecture firm in Chicago, and they're great money, stable career. It's a type of job that you can actually like grow in and one day become a high-ranking official, a top-level executive of this architecture firm, and this is a set-for-life kind of thing. But then 5 years in, you're like, I am tired of architecture. This does not fulfill me. Same thing as the plumber. Same thing as any other job. The point was, you do something and it does not work out. It's so easy to think you wasted all that time, but you did not waste that time. You were gaining something that took a bit more time to come to fruition, and that's a realization of what it is you're passionate about. I joined the military when I was 17 years old. I needed my parents' permission to sign the paperwork to join the United States Navy. Now, I lucked out. I signed a terrible contract. I could talk about that in a different video. But I got lucky. I got put at an assault craft unit. It was an amazing job. I loved every single moment of it. That's a lie. It's the military. Nobody loves every single moment of it. But I loved the people I was with. And I had this idea in my head. Because most of high school, I already knew, like, I'm going to join the military. I already knew it. Originally, I was going to join the Marine Corps. I was going to go infantry. And then when it came down to it, I scored better on the ASVAB than I thought I would. And I had, talking to the Marine Corps, it was like, oh, you want to go infantry or you want to go combat support? And, you're a young kid. You're like, yeah, I do. Yeah, that sounds awesome. And then you think about it and you're like, what do the other branches have for me? Talk to the other branches. And then for me personally, it wasn't even a job that attracted me to the Navy. I joined the Navy with no job. I was an undesignated seaman. Undesignated means no job. I had no job. I passed up infantry to join a different branch with no job. I just joined the branch. I joined the Navy, everyone else in boot camp was like, oh, what are you in for? I'm a bosun's mate. I'm an electrician's mate. I'm going to be a CB. I'm a quartermaster. I went to boot camp with this guy who was going to be a nuke. Like, all these people had jobs, and they were like, what are you? I'm undesignated. You know what it feels like being undesignated in boot camp? When the culinary specialist is laughing at you? The guy who's going to just cook food all day? And nothing wrong with the CSs. You guys are important. But I passed up actual jobs to join a branch that had no job. And I had this idea in my head, the Navy's going to be my career. The Navy's going to be my career. I can do so much. I have all these opportunities. I believed this lie about the undesignated contract that you could like shadow every job on a ship and then pick what you wanted when it was time to strike for a rate. So it was like, you get to test them all out, pick what you want. And then they put me at a small assault craft unit, boat unit, maritime prepositioning force, ACU2, Virginia Beach, Little Creek base, and I was a bosun's mate. I was I didn't shadow any other jobs. I did engineering work because they're small boats, right? You only have bosun's mate engineers. That's it. And then we had one electrician's mate, but it was basically impossible to shadow that guy. He was always running around doing God knows what he was doing. So I was basically just a bosun's mate. I was a deckhand. I was basically just a bosun's mate. And then 2 years later, they were like, hey, it's time to strike a job. What do you want to do? I had all these options, and I was like, I want to drive these boats, dude. I loved it. I was like, I just want to drive these boats. What do I have to do to stay here? And they were like, bosun's mate. I was like, that's me. Struck bosun's mate, stayed at the unit. And I had this idea of just like, I'm going to do 20 years. I'm going to do 20 years. Even before I went to boot camp, I was like, I have 20 years of my life set. Everyone else is like, I'm going to go to college for these 4 years. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go for my master's, my PhD, spend all this money, be this much in debt. And I was a jackass. I was like, I'm good to go, bro. I got 20 years of my life figured out. I can go to college for free while I'm in if I want to. And then things happened. That wasn't the case. I got out 3.5 years later. Didn't even finish my first contract. And I ended up, after some terrible things happened, going to film school. Which I'm finishing up film school now. And it took that moment of I wasted my time with the military. I wasted my time doing this thing that did not come to fruition the way I wanted it to, or expected it to, maybe needed it to, or planned for it to. It took that for me to realize I have a love for movies. And I had always had a love for movies that I never fully realized until I was in that dark moment of, what am I doing with my life now? And when you are in those positions, as much as it sucks and as much as it hurts, those are the positions where you find out what is for you. With the relationship, you break up. She broke up with that guy after 5 years. But then you're in a position of, when you heal from it and time passes, you're in that position of, I loved these things that happened in the relationship. I hated these things. So now when the next guy comes around, you go on a date, maybe it goes well, you start seeing them again, and you start to see some similar situations come up. Now you're not going to waste your time. Or this other person brings so many new things to the table that you go, oh, I actually hated this thing in my last relationship, but with this person, it's not as bad. It's tolerable. Or maybe like, oh, like maybe I only hated this other thing because I hated the other person. This person's doing the same thing, but it's not actually bothering me, right? You'll have those moments of figuring out what is and isn't for you, but you need to waste your time. You need to take the step. If you never take the risk of getting your heart broken, if you never take the risk of pursuing this job or pursuing whatever it is you're going to try to pursue, if you never even try, the only thing that can come from it is regret. And yes, you'll learn these lessons doing anything else anyways, but my point is, wouldn't you rather learn these lessons of figuring out what is and isn't for you and what you're truly passionate about and what you can devote your heart to? Wouldn't you rather learn all that doing something that in the moment feels like it's what's going to fulfill you? Instead of taking the safe approach and being like, oh, I'm 18 years old and graduating high school. I want to go be a plumber, but my parents are telling me I should go to community college because it's safer because you need a diploma. So then you go to college. You'll learn the same lessons anyways, but you're doing something you don't feel passionate for in the moment because you're taking the safer bet. This is just me personally. If I'm going to learn my lessons, I learn my lessons the hard way. All right. Even romantically, dude, I've made the same mistake over and over again with women. And it's just, I mean, I learned my lessons the hard way, bro. I have to get my heart shattered heavily before I learn, like, I should stop doing that, right? Like, you open up too much with a girl too soon and it falls apart, and you're just like, oh, this hurts. And then you do it again with the next girl, and you're like, oh, this hurts. And then you do it again, and you're like, oh my God, this hurts. And then finally, you're like, dude, I should stop doing that. That's just how I learned my lessons, because I'm a moron. And I'm fucking stubborn. But if I'm going to learn those lessons, any lesson in my life, I'd rather screw everything up doing something that I feel at the time that I'm truly passionate for, that I truly love, that I truly feel like I can devote my heart and time into. For the plumber I made up, for him it was being a plumber. He could have went to community college, and he could have been miserable every step of the way and then figured out what he's really passionate about. Now, sometimes it might actually take longer, because when you're focusing on your misery, it's a lot harder to kind of pull yourself out of that. But instead, in that made-up scenario, they picked up being a plumber, and they actually liked it. They maybe even loved it. And then it just wore off over time. With the relationship, you're dating this person, and you're like, oh my God, like, I feel so passionate about them now. It's this growing thing inside of me. It's this fire that's lighting up inside of me. I feel so passionate about this person. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm not gonna put myself out there for it. I'm gonna pull back. I'm just gonna let it be. I'm just gonna maybe ghost the person. I'm just gonna play it more casual. I'm gonna, yeah, we can hang out this weekend. This weekend rolls around. I'm sorry, my family needs me. I'm busy. It's easier this, in your head. You're like, it's easier this way. I'm just not gonna do it. Alternatively, even though a lot of people say it's stupid, you follow your heart and your mind collectively, right? Your mind is going to say, is there any real risk to dating this person? Is there any real, actual risk, harm to our lives, anything that could damage us, screw us over in a way that's not just emotional? Your brain is going to take care of that. If your brain is like, no, like, this is just a normal human being, it's not a serial killer, it's not Jeffrey Dahmer, right? There's no red flags that this person is a danger to me. Then you go, now your heart takes over and goes, and we feel this passionately about this person. Yeah, you have the fear of getting hurt. Just like taking on a career path, you have the fear of it not working out. This fear of, like, I'm never going to achieve what it is I want to achieve here. But regret is a lot worse than any pain you could possibly feel. And that point that I just made with the relationship side of it, that's a whole different conversation, because, like, I mean, just like anybody watching this, like, I've messed things up in a relationship where, like, it would have been good, or could have kept going, or could have turned out a certain way if I didn't do X, Y, Z, and then I have regrets for that, because, like, I ended up hurting myself by being dumb, right? But my point was more of, wouldn't you rather try and fail at something that you feel passionate about, or get to a point where 5 years later you're like, I still think about being a plumber. I still think about that person that I just never just tried with. I never just went on that date. What if I just went on that date? What if I just told the person, yeah, meet me here at this place at this time, and I just tried? Just one night of my life, just put myself out there. The pain of regret a lot of times is much worse than the pain of failure. Because at least if you fail at something, you go, I tried. The plumber I made up, he tried to be a plumber. It didn't work out. At least he tried. Then when you're older, right, you have kids. Your kids come to you with the problem. You go, hey, when I was your age, I tried to be a plumber. I realized 6 years into it, I didn't want to do it anymore. It wasn't for me. I should probably stop talking before this video becomes way too long. Hopefully anything I said actually made any lick of sense. I think if I do a second video, if I keep this kind of idea going, I should probably plan what I'm going to say. I bought this lapel mic off Amazon for like $15. I didn't really test the sound quality of it. I just figured if I hold it too close, it probably will sound bad since it's a lapel mic. It's also wired, so this is probably jiggling in frame. But the wireless one was like $30. I was like, I'll save $15 and just take the wire. And it came with a clip, so I could have just attached it to my hoodie. But I don't know, I kind of like holding it. Makes me feel like a giant. I'm just holding this little tiny mic. But yeah, just do what you're going to do, man. Do what you're going to do. But do what you're going to do taking a risk. If you never take those risks, you're never going to find what's for you. You're never going to find what's for you, especially if you're bogged down by all these circumstances of what your past was like. Right? Like, so many people have denied themselves the chance of going out with somebody that could be great for them, could even potentially be a future marriage, because of how people treated them in the past, because of what they've experienced and what they think they know to be true based off past experiences. A lot of people deny themselves happiness for many different reasons. But the point more so about this talk was, if you're going to get hurt, if you're going to think you wasted your time, if you're gonna eventually have those moments of awakening of, I've been wasting all this time and I just now finally in my 20s figured out what's for me. I finally now realized I want to be an author, I want to be a writer, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a choreographer, I want to be a musician, I want to be a whatever you want to be. Maybe somebody ends up realizing they were doing something else. Maybe somebody was an author and then realized they want to be a plumber. Who knows? Could happen. Or they just find it, right? If you never waste your time, you'll never have those realizations. But me personally, I would rather waste my time doing something I think is for me and what I feel in that moment is for me, rather than waste my time doing something that I think is the safer option. Because then you're just hurting yourself more. Because then you're just hurting yourself going, I wasted all this time. I could have been doing the thing I've been thinking of all this time. If the plumber knew earlier on they wanted to be an author, but being a plumber was the safer bet. Being a plumber was the smarter option. So they said, I'm not going to try to be an author because it's not safe. It's not safe. Being a plumber, I have union, I have benefits, I have stable income, I can work anywhere. I'm good to go. It's safe. It's safe. It's safe. I'm not going to try to be an author. This is safe. I don't feel passionate about it. I have no drive to do it. It doesn't light a flame in my chest, but it's safe. There's nothing wrong with taking the safe option, especially in today's world, but like, I don't know, man. I'd rather just say send it. What's the one that I feel? What do I feel? What do I feel passionate about? Even with the girl, right? Like, there's this amazing girl, right? You just tell her. Just tell her how you feel. Just say it. Because you get to a point too, like, you're gonna be too old to like play these games. If I have to play it safe to hook them in and get like the dates going and finally get them in bed and like build this connection, blah blah blah, just to do all these things, and it's like, you could play these games, but you're gonna end up in the same place anyways. If she's not for you, she's not for you. If she's for you, she's for you. If he's not for you, he's not for you. If he's for you, he's for you. Just pursue what you feel passionate for, and you'll find what is meant for you along that way. And it'll hurt. Oh, it's gonna hurt. But back to my other point, I think I would rather feel pain, doing something that I could say, you know what, I dedicated my time and effort to this thing or this person. I don't regret that, because at that time in my life, that's what I felt passionate about and towards. And if any of this video made any sense, let me know in the comments, because I had no plan of what I was going to talk about. I mean, I had the idea at first. Everything else has literally just been me rambling and just words falling out of my mouth, and hopefully any of it made sense. If it didn't, I'm honestly probably not even going to watch this. I'm probably just going to throw it up. Like, just put it up on YouTube and just see what happens. Because who cares? Who cares? I just rambled on for God knows how long this took. If any of that made sense, I'll be impressed. If I do this again, I'll try to have a better plan. Maybe I'll have a notepad with, like, what do I want to talk about? And just hit those points. Or maybe I'll just make this the series, dude. We'll just throw on the camera every night and just talk. See what we come up with. Yeah. Wonder how long this was. Peace out.